at yellowcap_ghost is our next presenter. And I am doing that. Okay. Ben, are you here?
Hello, I am here.
Okay, awesome. Hello. So this is Ben Ellis, pronouns he, him, and Ben is a second-year uni cybersecurity student, and he's worked as a junior security consultant in Japan. Notably, he's done threat intelligence on the 2020 Olympics and the cyber threats facing the British and Japanese companies. And y'all will start to see the meme going around with the social distancing Olympics, and all the rings are apart. So if we could just, every time we see it, tag in Ben Ellis and get his Twitter stream rolling, then that'll be a fun way to continue on the conversation. So I'll kick it off to you, Ben.
Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh.
Oh God, man.
Sorry, that was so my fault. Are you back?
Yeah, I was just watching it. It was just freaking out with me there. All right, let's get started then.
I muted you in my web. All right, I'm leaving you today.
Right, we can ignore who I am, except for the fact that, yeah, I worked as a consultant in Tokyo last summer, and I worked for a Japanese bank in 2016 for a bit. So let's get into the nice part. Welcome to Japan. As everyone knows, there's all these fancy little things. Family Mart, Skytree, Tokyo Tower, come on, Pikachu, Pokemon. Everyone knows that. Sorry, let's just get on to the techie stuff. So as we all know, Japan is one of the tech kings in the world. It has quite close relationships with high security countries like the USA and the UK. It's also known for its work ethics in terms of the workforce, very strong willed. So surely it's big on cybersecurity. Now, in my opinion, and this is all in my opinion, the state of cybersecurity in Japan is doomed. Now, let me explain why. First thing that I go straight to is Article 9 of the Japanese Constitution from World War II. The Japanese people forever announced their war as the sovereign right of the nation and the threat or use of force as means to settle international disputes, and therefore sea, air forces, as well as other war potential, will never be maintained. Now, for a lot of people don't realise that also means things like red teaming cannot be maintained. It also has led to the lack of intelligence gathering. A lot of people don't realise with that, it means that Japanese can't actually, in theory, gather offensive information. And that has caused a lack in terms of cyber intelligence. A quote from a colleague last summer was, "There is no insider threat, so we are safe." Now, this is a quote which he got from another fellow colleague of his working for another company, but it's a global threat, I said when I asked this, when I was told this, and I said, well, surely they know about it. And he goes, yeah, they do, but they just don't care. And actually, I want to ask everyone, does anyone know any Japanese hackers? Someone tweeted me this morning, and I was thinking about it, and I go, I've never actually thought about it, because it's never in the news. And actually, in terms of the scene, in terms of hackers, there is one minor thing, which is the underground. So when you go into the underground, the shady part of the world, there is a small section of forums, which are all Japanese. And the way they deal with cyber, and the way they use it in terms of the hackers and malicious lot, they actually do is buy malware. Because of this lack of offensive skills, which the country does not, well, now it does actually have, but originally did not have. They don't have the technical skills to make ransomware, viruses, Trojans, and it's led to a need to buy malware. So it can be sold from Russians, Koreans, Chinese. There is evidence of this. And the thing is another thing is Japan has a lot of money. There is a lot of money there. For example, crypto exchanges. Crypto exchanges are a good place to make money in terms of hacking. A good example is last summer. I think it's the 17th or 17th of July. Bitcoin, the crypto exchange in Japan, was hit. I believe it was $32 million was lost. Originally, they believe it was Lazarus. I actually worked on it. But when you look at cybercrime in Japan, hacking is not common still. Why is that? Well, we can link this to their culture. One of the biggest things anyone who's ever worked or visited in Japan is their belief in honor. And then, it's the sixth virtue of the Buddhist code, which is, losing face, which for the Japanese is something you must avoid. You cannot be, you can't be shamed. You should never be shamed. So surely, in terms of Japan, they should surely avoid being hacked. It's a big thing on a company to be hacked. If you ever see when a data leak or something goes wrong in Japan, there's always the great press conferences where they bow and look very sorry. And the media actually cuts into this. Media in Japan is very, very, very malicious in the way of they will use anything to get at them. So it's really dangerous for a company in terms of their reputation, customers, to make a mistake. So surely with them wanting to avoid it, well, what do you do in terms of being secure for cybersecurity? Well, you get guidelines and whatnot. But let's have a look at those. Policies, frameworks, and guidelines. Most of these are very basic because Japan's still slightly lagging behind, in my opinion. And one of the most key one which comes to mind is the Basic Act for cybersecurity, which is how the Japanese government responds to the global threat of hackers. It also describes how the concept of cybersecurity defines the roles and responsibilities of the government and local governments and how the stakeholders are required to work with other companies and the whole nation. It also gives power to the National Security Strategy headquarters, which allows them to have power and to do something which we will go on to now, which is the IoTs. So if anyone keeps up to date with Japanese cybersecurity, they know about the IoT government hacks. So the government, in preparation for preparation of the Olympics, gave the National Institution of Information and Communication Technology the power to go and hack IoTs everywhere. I mean everywhere in the nation. And the way they did it was using default passwords, default usernames. But with all this preparation, why do I still see the scene as being weak? Cybersecurity is expensive. That's the first thing any CEO says in terms of Japan. And actually, this is a quote. Cybersecurity is an expense, not a necessity. But in the UK, it's seen as an essential thing. We even have something called Cyber Essentials, which is required for every company to follow and have. So why, but Japan doesn't have it. So maybe that's a mistake. The other reason is they don't share their information. As you can see on the graph, Japanese companies are quite low at really sharing information compared to global companies. And this was done in 2016. But why is that? Why don't they share? 4 reasons given at the time was no adequate information sharing framework, Concerns over how other companies would use personal information. The technology wasn't there to share it, and no trust with competitors. The other reason, in my opinion, which I think is more likely, is shame. Losing face. It's so much of their culture that it might affect it. Are these reasons valid? As you've just seen, I've thrown up a load of frameworks, which actually all cover the critical infrastructure in Japan and how companies work. I didn't realise I've blasted through this. Whoops. So it makes the some of the reasons for the given for why they don't share a bit invalid. Actually, there is the right framework. Most of these frameworks actually cover, if not every single sector. Banks and crypto exchange have financial services. Car manufacturers have the auto ISAC. Most companies have the Initiative for Cybersecurity Information Sharing Partnership. So, in my opinion, the reason why threat intelligence is not big in Japan is just down to losing face. But this is a weakness for Japan now. So how is the Japanese government trying to get around this? This is where Basic Act comes into power. The Second Amendment of the Basic Act on Cybersecurity meant Cybersecurity Council was established. The purpose of it is to enhance the information sharing between members of the committee and to promote cybersecurity. It also allowed for a task force to be introduced, which was made up of companies externally, like British companies that I know, and American, and other places, to be introduced and brought into the government as sort of, I don't know what's the best way of putting it, assistees as such. But what about now? National Centre of Incident Readiness and Strategy for Cybersecurity released a strategy, what was it, last year? Yes, I think it was last year. No, 2 years ago, sorry, that's my fault there. They've set out some basic goals for what they wanted to do for the next few years. Which were aimed completely at promoting cybersecurity in companies and society. As you can see, the 3 goals are, I'm very, very sorry. But what about the future as such? Now, one of the measures in place is establishing educational measures. As seen in the UK and the US, teaching people is an important key for having a secure nation and a strong cybersecurity sector. Myself, the reason why I've seemed to profit as I am doing right now is because I've been interested in it, and I've gone into a uni course, which has helped me progress in the sector a bit. Luckily for Japan, there are a lot of British companies now being promoted to come over to Japan, and there's NCC, Digital Shadows, Darktrace, NCD, which is Neon Cyber Defense, BT, they're all being brought over. And that is why I say there's money in Japan, because there are a lot more companies which are coming. So let's talk about, some examples. Now, by chance, I was asked by someone at the British Embassy how I'd make money in Tokyo in terms of a cyber security way. And I said, well, I'll do it with the metro, do it by railway. And he goes, oh, really? Why is that? Sorry, my notes are on the wrong page. Yeah. And I go, well, if you look at the metro, it makes up the controls majority of Tokyo. It's amazing. I wish it was here in Britain. It would be brilliant. But let's say ransomware occurs. Would it shut down the metro? Most people go, no, it wouldn't. And they go, well, okay, let me give you an example. A fire. So when I was in Tokyo last year, when by chance 3 of my colleagues were travelling to work, a fire occurred on their lane. Well, they're not a lane, they're a track. One single track of the whole metro is nothing, isn't it? No biggie. But they were 3 hours late. You know, Tokyo is big, so that might explain it. Well, actually, that one single fire stopped a quarter of the whole of Tokyo's metro. But that's only a quarter, you say. Well, Shinjuku Station, which is the busiest train station in the world, that has about 3 million, well, 3.5 million people per day in 2018, and even more now, actually, based off the statistics that I have found recently. So let's say quarter of that used quarter of the metro. So that's about a million, actually, around about a million, which is about 3 times more than what Waterloo has us going through it in 2018. I don't know why it seems to be that my audio is a bit missing there. Hit and miss, actually, apparently. Oh, sorry about that. Didn't realise that. I'll try and speak up, actually. It might be because I'm in my kitchen and it echoes a bit. So, total shutdown of the metro would cause quite a lot of trouble for Tokyo. It actually caused it to completely stop. But people go, well, what about taxis? I heard taxis are amazing in Japan. And I go, yeah, they are. There's not enough. Then people go, what about the buses? The buses are basically a small van. I wish I actually had a photo of it. It's really, really small. They're very cute, actually. Do highly recommend you searching it up, actually. But why would people go after the metro? Well, there is money involved, but it's more for power. As Japan actually don't have the ability or the power to get round ransomware in the metro. So let's go on to the next example I have, which is water, e.g. dams, actually. Now, when I say dams, most people tell me not to talk about it, or say leave it, doesn't matter. And I go, well, actually, let me talk about it and let me explain. Japanese love dams, and I'm not joking, but it's the Japanese. They love building things. And they're very good at building things, and that's true. But as the old catches up with the new, dams are being connected to networks. And therefore, things are being at risk in terms of the technology. Most dams nowadays are still air gapped. There's no connection to networks, but I know a couple in Japan, which I've visited, which are being connected slowly. But why haven't we seen any attacks on dams, you ask? Very simple answer. There's no money in it, obviously. You're not going to find personal data, you're not going to be able to sell that. But it's about power. So, you could cause a flooding. Well, most people, when I mention this, especially when the locals said, oh, but Tokyo's got a really good flooding system. And I go, yeah, it's a beast. But if you've ever seen Guy Martin's Our Guy in Japan, which I highly recommend you go and watch, actually, really good cultural reasons, you will notice if you watch when he goes to the flooding system, the screen that they show is really old operating systems, nearly as old as dinosaurs, in my opinion. But imagine if getting access to that and getting access to the dams and just turning off the dams, allowing the water to flood down, and then turning off the flooding system. Tokyo would be drenched. There'd be nothing left. Now, I want to go to what so I asked the question back to the official and said, oh, what would you do? And he goes, 7-Elevens. And I go, 7-Elevens? Why would you go after a convenience store? Now, I promise I'm not sponsored by them, but 7-Elevens, in my opinion, is brilliant. I love them to bits. But there is a reason why I'm talking about it. There's about 2,000 7-Elevens in Japan in 2019. That's about 31% of the total known 7-Elevens in the world. You can pay your bills. You can buy event tickets, make copies of your emails. They basically everything that the Japanese ever need. But Why would you target them? Well, there's actually money involved in this. As you can see, ATP, not ATPs, ATMs are on the list. Oh, that's good. I use them actually. I regularly use them to get yen out of pounds. But let's say you target the app. Now, 7-Elevens do actually have an app, and it's really, really interesting. Because that was what the answer of the official was. You said, oh, I target the apps. So I can just give them a bit of money off. Or maybe even just steal the details. And that's brilliant. But surely it's not going to have much effect. And he goes, well, you know, there's about 5 deliveries per day for a 7-Eleven. And I go, oh. But then he goes, think about it like this. If you shut that down, most 7-Elevens are used for social services for elderly and for your daily food. You can get clothing from it. Let's turn that all off. Imagine that's not going to turn up every day for a week. 7-Elevens would be out of business. Family would take over. And there wouldn't be any soba noodles. And this is where I leave this part of the talk and talk about food. So in this part, in this half, I'm going to talk about some Japanese food, a little bit of culture, and how to make these brilliant dishes as a uni student. When I ask most people what they think of Japanese food, they think of ramen, sushi, weird snacks, nice flavors. Well, weird, nice flavored Kit Kats. They are actually really good. I've got a load here. But this is PancakesCon, so we have to talk about pancake-themed things. And soba noodles, because it's in my title. But hey, let's start. It's a mine. Yeah, sorry, my Japanese can be a bit often. Just because when I've been trying to learn it, it goes a bit haywire with other things I'm doing. The rules of the kitchen, as I define them. The term actually does completely translate into in front of the chopping board, or the board, in reference to the chopping board. It isn't just a phrase, it is a title. It's a title that has to be earned. So why am I showing you restaurants? Well, this is where you earn them. So what makes it so special? Well, let's start talking about sushi chefs, for example. It's a very long journey, and it always starts off as being an apprentice. First job as an apprentice, preparing sushi rice. Most importantly, washing the rice. You do this, possibly you could do this for about 2 years on average, I believe it was, when I last checked. I actually was talking to an apprentice last year about well, I don't go to sushi places because I can't eat some sushi, but I was talking to a chap actually whilst I was eating another restaurant, and he turned out to be an apprentice. And I go, that's extraordinary. Why this long? Why do you do it for so long? And he goes, well, I haven't got it perfected yet. They will keep doing it until the senior chef is happy with it daily. And it has to be daily. And then they get promoted to do the fresh ingredients. And by chance, I can't say this word. I've tried multiple times before doing this talk, and I just struggle with it. I'm not going to butcher it, but I'll translate it for you. It translates to basically next to the board, because that's where they are. They are sat next to the board, prepping the fresh ingredients. Cutting the sushi, not sushi, cutting salmon, trout, grating ginger. Sorry, I'm lagging a bit here. But eventually, the apprentice will start preparing food for clients for a takeaway, and they will even start learning how to interact with the customers by watching the senior chef. And then for another few years, for about 3 years, I believe it is, you then become the senior chef. You get the authorization to stand in front of the chopping board. And you think about it, you can be in your kitchen doing chopping board now. You know, right in front, okay, chop away. And that's something which the Japanese have to learn. And it's not just Japanese. If I went over there and I wanted to do a career apprentice, it's something that can be earned for foreigners. And people don't realise that. Some people argue with me on this, but there's a reason why I bring it up. Is because some other titles can't be earned by foreigners. This is one of the very few which a foreigner can earn. Now for the stars of our show, and as such. Fluffy Japanese souffle pancakes, ominokiyaki, and super noodles, panko soba style. I'll get to that one in a bit. Brunch, anyone? Japanese souffle pancakes are delicious. They are basically pillows. Oh, what are they different from any normal pancake? Well, it's all about the eggs. It's a souffle. I'm not going to talk about the whole recipe. I do actually have a recipe in 2 parts. This is quite a long one. But the reason why I'm not going to talk about it is because I don't want to run out of time. But I will show you some tips, and I'll also talk about the unique things about them. First thing straight away is killing your egg whites. Most people, especially in the US, say, no, bring them up to room temperature. Actually, in Japan, they don't. They want to keep it chilled. So a lot of Japanese eggs use chilled egg whites for the meringue. Yeah, it's a bit of an intriguing one. And also, it allows them to not need tartar, cream of tartar, which, to be fair, is quite nice. I don't have tartar. I'm a student. I don't purposely buy things which I might not use again. Another thing which is on the recipe I've got there is electric mixer. I'm a student. I definitely don't have that. But you can do it by hand. It's quite simple. When you first start doing it, you want to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until it starts going foamy. Then you do vigorous circular motions until it's got its peaks. It's lovely, lovely peaky mountains as such, as my mum used to put. Excuse my title, I had to put this in. But the first tip straight away is you don't want your pancakes to be spotless, spotty, not spotless. You want them to be spotless. Do wipe away the excess oil. A lot of people don't do that. Normal pancakes, I highly recommend. I just seen a question. Yes, I shall share them. Definitely will share them. I will suggest some websites. I shall suggest some websites to go to. I just highly recommend just search up fluffy pancakes, Japanese pancakes. There's tons of websites that do recipes. I will go through it later on. I'll try and remember some. Another thing is cook them slow, long, and covered with a lid on low heat. Reason why is think about it as a marshmallow. So when you're melting a marshmallow, it gets sort of squishy on the outside, but hard in the centre. Now turn that the opposite way around. That's what a Japanese pancake can be like if you cook it on too much of a high heat. It will cook on the outside, and you go, "It's great, it's ready." Open it up, and it's all squidgy. You don't want that. You want to cook it long and slow. So everything cooks at a good rate. The other thing, which a lot of people ask straight away, is how do you make them all stacked? Now, there are 2 ways of doing this. I haven't mentioned it on this one, but you can get a mold. Just get a mold or make your own mold. It's brilliant. But I don't really have the money to buy a mold, so I just do it the more traditional way in some ways, which is you do 1 scoop for a few seconds, let it cook, another scoop, let it cook, scoop. Don't do it too high, can't put the lid on. I know someone who's done that. It's a bit of a mess, to be fair. Right. So the rest of the recipe is pretty much your normal pancake, but it is a nice change. So maybe as we're all in quarantine as such, why not we make them tomorrow? But the problem is all my shops have run out of eggs. So that's a shame for me, eh? Japanese pizza or Japanese pancakes. Ominokiyaki. I originally used to call them noodle pancakes because I can say ominokiyaki. See, I'm struggling now. It's one of the very few words I really do struggle with. But they are brilliant for everyone because you can put anything in it, basically. There are some things I would recommend you don't put in, like nuts. I don't know why anyone would, but hey, try it. I haven't tried it. But it's good for leftovers. And that's highly recommended. I would highly recommend it for leftovers because the recipe is literally 5 steps. You can shorten it to 4, actually, in my opinion, but I've done it to 5 just to make it easier for everyone. You just prep your veg, and you cut them up into slightly more strips, so about that size or that size. Don't want to do them too big or it'll be, sort of be a bit wavy. And then you can throw it all in. Now, sometimes you can put noodles in it. So a lot of the time it's a noodle bed. I've not put noodles on this because I just realised I forgot to. That's my mistake. I did it off a recipe which doesn't do noodles. I've just realised that. God damn it. Oh well. But you can just, I would recommend either Soba. Udon. Udon noodles would probably be the best one for this. The other one is egg noodles or ramen noodles. They work quite well as well. But udon, if you want a thick, squidgy sort of feeling of the noodles, they're really nice. It goes well with the actual sauce. I've done Worcester sauce because you can get almanaki sauce, but Worcester sauce is just cheaper in the UK. And it doesn't cost me £3. But to be fair, you can get it at good prices. The other thing is actually, when you've done it, and when it's traditionally, as you can see, they've done like a grid. It's good for children, and I do this with my brother. You can draw. What the Japanese traditionally do is they draw on the top of them. So children will draw like an anime character or weird symbol, and it looks amazing with mayo. If you've ever seen I highly recommend actually search what a Japanese mayo bottle looks like, because they're not like a normal bottle, which is like that. It's sort of got like that, more of a I don't know, like a hair. So it allows for a more accurate drawing. Very good statement to say. But hey, and actually Okonomiyaki is quite popular because of 2 main reasons. Firstly, normally it's traditionally prepared right in front of you and cooked right in front of you on a hot grid. Not a hot grid, a hot plate. I normally go to somewhere, well, I have a local place where I go to, which is brilliant, and they will do it right in front of me. You can watch the food sizzling, it's amazing. But first tip, don't try and flip it on the grid. It's not for you to flip, it's the chef. Hit the honour, please. Be respectful. The other thing is, it's quite easy to make, so it's quite traditionally found at street markets as well, street festivals. Quite easy to make, quite nice to eat. Excuse me, what? Soba? I'm Soba. I originally, when I first found out about these, I told it to my best friend. When we were teens, we both laughed about it. I think you can see the reason why. But to be fair, wanko means bowl, and this is why. It's called wanko soba, because when you eat wanko soba, it's just soba noodles. You have them in small bowls about this big, and you continuously eat them. Like I highly recommend search up the Great Wanko Soba Challenge, food challenge. It's the most funniest thing. You just watch people continuously eat them. I think the record is 507 bowls, which is a lot of bowls, and I mean these fill you up quite fast. But you can't take a break. You can't stop to digest. And to finish, and I mean, like the server will be right next to you. You don't go up and back. The server sits there with a tray about this tall, multiple trays of these bowls, and will just continuously. And the only way to stop it is to pass out. Don't know, I highly recommend that one. Or put your lid on your bowl. It's a respectful way of doing it. To be fair, passing out is slightly hard to explain to Japanese when you can't speak Japanese. But I don't recommend people do this at home. I'm going to point this out now. But you can use not soba. You can use soba noodles in your ramen, especially in the instant ramen. Taste of Japan as a student. Instant noodles, especially instant ramen, is staple food for students around the world. I believe that because I eat a lot of instant noodles. The majority of uni students I know eat instant noodles. I like to buy them from my Korean shop, the local one down the road. It's quite nice. But to be fair, it's not the most filling thing. It's not really the healthiest thing. So how do you change that? Well, adding an egg is always a good way. It's a good amount of protein. It's quite filling. You can add another protein, but eggs are cheap. And if you want to go completely traditional, do a soft, hard egg. not soft, hard, soft-boiled egg. Cut it in half, and then you have your traditional egg shown on the traditional sort of egg and ramen. A lot of people don't realise that. It is as simple as that. Adding herbs. As I like to cook a lot, I always have herbs. But having one herb changes a lot of dishes, so I highly recommend getting that if you're a student. Kimchi. It is Korean. Most people shout at me for this, going, "It's not Japanese." And I'm like, if you've been to Tokyo, you realise saying, "Oh, it's not Japanese" is a wrong thing to say, because you realise that most of the restaurants in Japan, especially in Tokyo, aren't Japanese. They're Italian, French, not British, that's not cuisine, but and Korean are cuisines. And Japanese chefs will make it their life work to do those dishes, which are of a certain cuisine to perfection. I actually have a stand-up Italian down where I live in Tokyo, and it's quite funny. You walk past and you see all the middle-aged women with their glasses standing up, and it's like, you never see this in the UK or anywhere in the world, let alone Japan. You'd think about everyone sitting down being very polite. No, they're all standing up with glasses of wine whilst the chef there is cooking away. Really nice. I highly recommend, if you do go to Tokyo, do try something else than just Japanese. You'll be surprised. Flavoured oils are a really good one. Sesame oil especially. Ramen traditionally is quite oily. Well, depending on how it's cooked. So adding a bit of oil doesn't makes it quite nice. Makes it more traditional tasting. Frozen veg, not fruit, veg, is a good way of doing it in terms of making it slightly more healthier and slightly more filling. Most people, when I originally suggest this, go, "That's not traditional." I'm like, that's not the point. You're a student, you're trying to fill yourself up. Or if you're not a student, which I know some of you aren't, still good filling if you just want to have a snack. Dash of soy sauce, traditional things. Seaweed is another one. They're all good things, and you can get them quite cheap from a normal store. Or if, for example, in the UK, I know there's lots of Korean and Japanese local shops. Just pop into one of them. They're not actually a bad price. I get a lot of my stuff. I get a lot of Japanese food in the UK by going to those type of shops. I miss Japanese food. I wish it was hit more in the UK, but there isn't, unfortunately. The last one is add more noodles. I have a pack of noodles. I'm looking at the cupboard which has got it. It's always a good thing. What I normally do is I eat the noodles, the first original pack of noodles, whilst cooking another pack, and put it in with the broth. Still tastes nice, and normally the noodles are better quality. So I normally get them from my Korean shop. So, hey, I highly recommend you can get doing this if you are bored, or if you've just got instant noodles and you've got some spare stuff. I don't know how I've glossed through that. I've glossed through that quite fast, actually. But thank you for listening. Have I gone through that too fast? I don't know. Any questions?
All righty. Well, thank you. That was amazing. I think I'm personally probably.
I've turned on volume, sorry.
Oh, no problem.
So
well, thank you so much. My fault. I don't see any questions, but one came in about your favorite, I can't pronounce this word, topping.
Favorite topping? Oh, tempura. Tempura fillets, that's always good on. Even not Soba. Walking out there. But yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much. And we're going to switch it over to the next presenter. And we got Devin Echoes Aura, sorry. So, gotcha. And give me a second. Put nothing. All right, and so